All right. I hope that you can see the screen. And I'm going to review the agenda briefly just so we know what we're going through and, being aware that we have limited time and lots of voices. First, we're going to go review the declaration. There was a proposal to change the language. We need to discuss that. And of course, building on the declaration, getting more signatures, getting it out in other networks. We also want to cover the use of the contact lists and emails, and Ula will help on that part. Then our working groups that built towards the event that happened in Brussels will report on status with a focus on where do we go from here? What are the next steps? And then we'll check in about what's going on with media. There was a piece shared that I put in the agenda for folks, and then to discuss next year in DC. And this last piece is around Organization for Security and Cooperation in the Europe Summit 2024, and makes decisions around that, and then we'll be done. So starting on the declaration, Ulo, can you provide updates, or does Emily need to do that? You're muted, Ula. You're talking. Okay, go ahead.
Actually, Kate, who said that Kate Hudson from CND UK, that said that she could update it so that the mentionings about Vilnius.
We are not listening to Ulla.
You're very, very low. Your volume is very low.
Sorry, I had my microphone up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was actually Kate Hudson from CND UK that has been working with a media group that was supposed to update it so that what we say about Vilnius is changed because Vilnius is over. But we cannot change of course, we must not change the contents, because then we have to contact all the women again. Which means the 251st signatories, if they accept. So we have to be very, very careful that we only delete what is said about Vilnius, and maybe put some very, very small comment on Washington, so that we don't have to contact all the signatories, which it would be a massive work. But Kate is not here, I suppose.
No, she's not.
So could we just agree on that we leave the issue to Kate? She's very good on these official things. And that we just delete what is told about Vilnius, or keep something which is very, very, I don't know, important, and then put in maybe something about Washington. Is that okay? Yeah, I didn't hear any no's. So
I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Okay, no objections to that?
So I will send an email to Kate that she should update the version.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. And now, what about the list that you want to share?
There are actually two things. I have got a lot of complaints that our common email list is used for conversation, which makes it hard for people who have not so much time to follow it. So I would hope that everyone that writes messages would be very restrictive, that it really is something of great concern to everybody, and keep it short messages. And I talked with Emily from IPB, who has done our webpage and is really admirable person. She said that maybe it would be better to create a WhatsApp group for those who want to discuss. And for that we need, of course, what I'm now trying to do. I have all the emails of women that have been on the Zooms, or that have registered for the Zooms, or that have contacted me on other cases interested in cooperating. And I have the speakers from our webinars. And I will create a contact list with the names, the organizations, and the emails. But in order to be able to distribute that to those who are interested, I have to contact every woman and ask if it's okay. So it will take me at least, I think, 3 weeks, because I'm away in Japan 1 week, a bit more, 10 days. But when I have done this list I would send to every woman that has said yes, so that you can identify Patricia, and you don't have to search for it here in the chat, but you have a list where you can see, okay, this woman is from Women for Peace, this one is from WILF, and so on. So that is something which I think now is needed. And then you can also discuss, you can try to reach each other for a WhatsApp group on different subjects, or any subjects. I don't know if that would be a solution for not using the common email list for conversation.
Any questions?
Ulla,
Pippa's hand
I
is
do.
up.
Yeah, thank you, George. I'm wondering if you're going to contact all these people, whether it's worth asking for their mobile number, which would make it easier when constructing a WhatsApp group.
That's okay. I can add that to the list, what I need, the mobile numbers, and those who want to give them, they do it.
Yeah.
Okay, great idea, Pippa. Thank you.
Any other questions? Great. So
yeah,
let's.
There was also the thing about the newsletter, which Christina has been interested in. Christina is not here, but I think that on the next meeting we should discuss this, have this as an item, a newsletter, because in the newsletter we could then gather all these kind of useful information for our fights. And only the real urgent ones we would send on the common email list, and use the newsletter for getting information, general information for our fights. But we could discuss that on the next meeting.
Okay. So let's hear from the working groups. Post the event, what are your plans going forward? I've listed the working groups, Ulla, that you had sent in your notes. So we've got Africa, and then US, Canada, violence, NATO against women, reclaiming 1325, NTO, the climate killer, relationships in the global south and other non-aligned movements, and the militarization of schools, which may be down to the media committee. So if this is one of your work groups, be prepared to update us for 5 minutes. And if you've got other people who are in your work group, direct message them now to decide who's going to report. I know that Teresa Elamine will give the update for Africa working group.
Okay, and it should be NATO climate killer, not NTO. Okay.
I took this from your notes. Sorry if I got.
Yeah, I was a bit tired after Brussels.
No worries about it.
Thank you.
Sure. Alessandra has her hand up. Go ahead, Alessandra.
I don't know if it's now, but I want to say that I copied the proposal for our working group, that is Women and NATO, let's say like that. And I didn't get any answers so far by the group, but also the second point is, how can we enlarge the group if we have to talk just among ourselves? So I think that we have to send the proposal, to discuss it now, the proposal, if possible, or to send it, and to send it also to the list in order to understand if there is someone else who want to participate in this working group. So
Okay.
Could I comment? When I sent out the names from the working groups, I suggested that the small group, which is a startup group, would agree on some kind of small statement on what they are wanting to do and so on, webinars or whatever, and send it out to the common list in order to get other people to join. I think that would be the most efficient way to work now.
Yes, right, Ulla. The problem is that after that, also you send a mail saying, as a group, you don't need to send to the list. So that's why I was embarrassed in sending it to the whole list, but I can do it. Anyway, the proposal is on the chat. I copied it, and I can also read it if you want. And I will send it to after the meeting of today, I will send it to the list and asking who want to join the group. And that's it.
Great. I
Thank
think
you.
there was a misunderstanding. I said that you don't have to send it to me personally, but it's okay.
No.
It's great if you send it out now.
That
Okay.
sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see that Scavy has her hand up. Scavy, can your question wait till after the reports?
It is something to clarify so I can understand, because the last days we had many emails from various comments. Really, I couldn't follow all the emails, and maybe there were some important ones, and I didn't see them. So it is better to we don't have somebody employed to work for our group, but it's better to receive the important emails, the proposals, the issues, like the ones that we received from Giorgio, for example, that we know that it will be the program, it is the registration for the Zoom meeting. So we can give the proper attention. I cannot follow the comments that each one, I was 1 or 2 days, more than 20 emails. I couldn't follow them, and I couldn't understand what they mentioned, for which issue they would refer to it. Can we
Understood.
work? And I am ready to help, but to these various working groups, but I don't know how can I support the work that we are preparing, that we are doing.
Thanks for
Thank
that comment. So working group, Africa working group.
Yes, thank you, George. I see that Khadija is also in the meeting, and she missed our follow-up meeting on July 14th. So I'll try to be very brief, George, in case you and Khadija want to add something. But I don't think we need to take the whole 5 minutes. Just in the way of further introduction, the Southern Anti-Racism Network is the fiscal sponsor for the Fannie Lou Hamer branch of WILF in the U.S. section. And I did drop our website in the chat so you can see our close relationship with building WILF in the Fannie Lou Hamer branch. And so in the Africa Working Group, I'm also representing the Convention for Pan-African Progress. And there were several of us in the CPP Ubuntu who are in the Africa Working Group and committed to being united against NATO. So our follow-up meeting after Brussels was July 14th, and there were several of us speakers and others involved in that meeting. And Khadija wasn't in that meeting, so I want to give her an opportunity for her comments. But the main discussion that we had on July 14th is that we would be united in our various formations, including the International Peace Bureau with Ernest Gibson, who was president in the follow-up meeting, and we did an evaluation of how we did with the Africa Working Group webinar on July 7th. And the big news is that Pan-African formations around the world are getting ready for the 9th Pan-African Congress, which is proposed for Togo in the fall of 2024. And of course, that will be after we mobilize for DC in July of 2024 to say no to NATO. So that's the update from my perspective. So if George has anything to add or Khadija has anything to add, our next meeting will be August 18th. And I will say that the Fannie Lou Hamer branch and the Southern Anti-Racism Network is doing a tour which starts on August 8th. And the tour is called UN Decade Reparations, No to NATO. And the tour stops are DC on August 8th, Philadelphia on August 9th, New York City on August 10th. We'll be doing some meetings in Providence, Rhode Island on the 11th and the 14th to build a branch of will. And then we're going to take a detour into Rochester, Vermont for a gathering sponsored by the Burlington, Vermont branch, where I understand Medea Benjamin is speaking. And the final stop of the tour is Boston on August 15th. And at every stop, we will have peace women speaking on no to NATO. So I will stop there. George, do you have anything to add, or does Khadija?
That was very thorough, thanks. And there's 2 minutes left of the 5. I know that Khadija's having language issues. If there's anyone who can provide translation from French to English. Patricia, is that you?
Now I call Khadija and I tell her that Teresa is speaking exactly about the meeting of 14. I suggest to her to speak, and after we can translate what she say. So I hope that she want to speak now.
Khadija, we'll try to work it out if you have anything you want to add.
Je peux parler en français à Khadija si elle est là.
Oui, bonjour, désolée.
Ok, tu as compris le message?
Non, non, justement, j'attends s'il peut, Patricia, me traduire, s'il te plaît.
Ok, alors tu peux parler en français et quelqu'un va traduire après pour toi, ok?
Merci beaucoup, merci beaucoup.
Bien.
Okay, so I don't hear, is there a translation that anyone wants to share between Khadija and Christina?
No, for me it's difficult to translate in English. Patrizia va faire ça. C'est ça, Patrizia? Ok. No, ok,
so Alessandra Mecozzi.
Ok, d'accord.
I cannot translate from English to French now, but I can translate what Khadija will say in French into English.
Okay. So Khadija, do you have anything to say?
Oui, j'ai compris que vous avez dit que maintenant je peux intervenir, c'est ça?
Oui, oui. Khadija, si tu veux, tu interviens maintenant et je vais te traduire en anglais. Mais je ne peux pas traduire de l'anglais en français maintenant parce que je n'ai pas très bien compris.
Oui, justement parce que moi non plus, je n'ai pas beaucoup suivi le début. Je traduisais avec le téléphone, mais il ne traduisait pas bien. Donc, je n'ai pas bien suivi le débat.
Mais est-ce que tu as des choses à dire sur les groupes, les réunions du groupe Afrique?
Moi, malheureusement, la dernière réunion, j'avais un problème, un imprévu familial, donc j'ai pas pu assister. Mais j'avais fait juste une remarque sur la déclaration parce que j'ai commencé à distribuer la déclaration pour la signature et j'ai reçu des retours qui disent comment on va signer une déclaration qui parle d'un événement dans le futur alors qu'il est déjà passé. Donc, est-ce qu'on peut, ils ont proposé, donc c'est ce que j'avais proposé et je ne sais pas finalement qu'est-ce qui a été fait. C'est juste ce point. Merci.
Okay. Khadija says that she could not attend the last meeting because she had a family problem. But what she wants to stress is the fact that she spread the declaration to other groups and women, but they asked how can we sign something that is talking about as it is in the future an event that already took place. So she was suggesting to change a little bit the declaration in this sense, not to have something that seems to be old. Okay.
Understood. Thank you.
Yes,
and that is going to happen. The dates will be adjusted and possibly some reference to DC, as Ula said earlier.
Yes.
I recognize too that Ernest Gibson from the Africa group is here as well. And Ernest, if you have something pressing you want to share, that would be fine. But our 5 minutes for our report is now 8 because translation takes time. But if there's something pressing you want to share, Ernest, go ahead.
Thank you so
Just a moment, George. I want to translate shortly for Khadija what you said. Khadija, sur la question du texte que tu as posé, George a dit qu'ils vont changer un tout petit peu, justement, sur la question date, disons, Vilnius, qui a déjà eu lieu, et en écrivant quelque chose sur le futur de meeting à Washington. Voilà, c'est clair?
Ouais. Très bien, merci beaucoup.
Thank you. And Ernest, before you came on, Teresa gave the report from our evaluation meeting. She talked about the Congress that's going to happen in Togo and mentioned our next meeting on August 18th. Is there anything you want to add?
No, not really. Just to say thank you so much, and also I have been able to also spread the declaration message through the smaller organizations in Africa. I am here to send it to the bigger organizations and also the IPB African Network organizations. We have our next meeting in 2 weeks, and I am here to spread the message from there. However, I had a few of them who had questions, and I have a meeting with them. I've scheduled a meeting with them next week to listen to their questions and address them appropriately. And also, IPB was also impressed with the program we had, and they are looking at how best we can promote these messages through their website to make sure we are successful.
Sounds good. Thank you. Ula?
Yeah. I will ask Kate to change the English version, but as you can understand, we have 15 or 20 languages. So to put in the changes of the declaration, what comes to Vilnius, will take some time. But as soon as the English version is updated, I will ask Kate, because I will be away now for more than 16 days. I will ask Kate to send a message on the common list that the declaration has been updated in English.
Okay.
And if we can get some of the other languages corrected, it's okay, but it will take a little bit more time. And I will ask Kate also to say that it will take some time. Okay?
All right. It looks like we're back on the discussion about the declaration. The next report we need to hear from is US-Canada. So y'all get ready. Kate and then Patricia. Go ahead, Kate.
Yeah. Thanks, George. Just to say that the English version amendments have been completed, so I can share that at any point.
Perfect. Thanks. Patricia?
I just want to inform to you that I'm preparing especially the report about the seminary about Africa that was really interesting for the new Italian newspaper. Just
Oh,
my
fantastic.
contribution.
Thank you. All right. So who's reporting for US Canada?
I can do that. This is Ali.
5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah, so all the feedback that we received for the webinar has been positive. We've continued to circulate the video within our groups, and I shared all the information, the declaration, website, webinars, etc. in a webinar I co-hosted last night, just to raise more awareness about the group's initiatives. Other than that, our group needs to plan our follow-up meeting, which we can do for August. Otherwise, yeah, that's our update.
Thank you. Next is the Violence NATO Against Women Reclaiming 1325. Who can provide that update?
Okay, I will say something. As I said before, I copied on the chat my proposal in 3 points about this working group. But so
Okay.
far, I did not get any answer from the group, the small group, a very small group. So now what I said is that I will send this proposal in 3 points that I wrote in the chat. I will send to the list asking who want to participate in this group. Just a comment about the title. The title is not the one reclaiming 1325. So I think we should, because the points are one for me. I mean, my proposal is the points are 3. 1, analyze and denounce the attempt of NATO to present herself as a global leader of the struggle against the violence on women and changing its narrative and so on. Second, to show the manipulation of the UN Women Agenda. In fact, the 1325 resolution is not implemented as it should be. And this is about the women's role in preventing wars and negotiating peace. And this third, bring evidence of the violent character of NATO as a military body, including violent behavior of soldiers against women in war zones. In brief, NATO is one of the most patriarchal structures because of its role and composition, and that's one of the reasons we don't want it.
Very good. Thank you. Ernest?
It's just a brief question. I have communicated with a few young women who long to, after reading the declaration, they long to become ambassadors of these organizations who can promote whatever we are doing here. And they are actually young, let me say they're youth. And I want to ask, is it possible? And if it is, how can they become ambassadors of these organizations to promote this in their countries?
Well, getting folks to sign on the declaration is, I would say, one of those steps. Patricia, do you have some advice for Ernest?
Yes, no, just I want to know, for to publish the video, is necessary to ask some authorization to the TV, Belgian TV, or not? Is possible to give the image or not for to expand the information? Because, you know, normally it's necessary to ask authorization.
I think that you can use the recordings from our time on the webinar freely and share it with anyone who is interested. It should be available without restriction.
Okay. You are sure, because I don't want to have
No
problems.
one owns it. No one's making money off of it. It is for educational purposes and should be available to anyone who wants to use it. Am I wrong, Ula?
Thank you.
Are you, Patricia, talking about our webinars, or are you now talking about some television link?
because the registration that you sent to us are not just the registration of Zoom. There is even you remember Belgium TV that take image. So I want to know if I need to ask authorization to Belgium TV. So I hope that there is Emmeline there today to ask about this, because normally for to publish is necessary to ask the authorization to the. So I want to know, because really I want to send to different newspaper online, YouTube. I want to are sure that they are not problems.
Right. I think you should try to get Ludo or Emilienne to answer that. Do you have Ludo's email?
I think.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
I can send it to you also.
Okay.
And about the ambassador, I think, Ernest, that everyone, it's only my opinion, but you have to confirm it, the other ones. I think that every woman who has signed the declaration and agree with the declaration is an ambassador, has the responsibility to take the declaration on to others to sign. So we are actually all ambassadors or ambassadorins.
Okay. Thank you so much. So in that regard, I think they are looking at it from a perspective of if they are chosen or they are accepted as an ambassador, they need, I don't know, like is it a sort of a tagged name which they would mount platforms to speak about these organizations, but what identify them as members of this organization? Because one of the ladies I was speaking to, she actually works in a radio station of whom she can also spread this message widely in her country. So the question is, what identifies them as members of this organization when they stand to speak on behalf of the organization?
We are not an organization, we are a movement. So that, I think, should be the full explanation. So they either believe in this idea and are happy to participate with all of us, or they are not. I mean, as simple as that, in my humble opinion. And I'll leave others.
Let me recognize the people whose hands are up. Claire, and then Teresa.
Thank you. If we want to ask something to Ludo or Emmeline, I'm in Brussels with them, so I can ask them. But what is it exactly? The Belgian television took some. The Belgian television was on the European Parliament.
Non. Claire, tu vois, là, moi, je suis en train de préparer.
So everybody understands.
Yes, I'm preparing some articles about the summit, and it's possible to integrate with some video. Okay, so the problem is that this video is not just the registration of the Zoom, but it is the TV. The Belgian TV that stay all the time. So I speak with my friend, the director of the newspaper. They explained that is necessary the authorization, because it's not possible to put in YouTube. So I want to know if
yes. What do I ask to Emmeline or Ludo? Exactly.
If if it's possible to have the contact with this television, if they are agree that their image are used in other articles, okay, it's really important.
Okay. I think Patricia should contact Ludo and Emilienne directly. I send you the email.
Okay.
Very good. Very good.
I have another question, because of course I ask a lot of people to sign the declaration and the statement against the depleted uranium bombs, but they asked me, I did it in DiEM25 Belgium and in Progressive International, but to spread to DiEM25 Europe, I need your Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram accounts. Can you give it me to the on the chat. Thank you.
Okay. So if there is Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, put that in the chat if anyone knows that for
Yes.
Global Women
Okay.
United. Teresa?
Okay.
Yes. I just want to say to Ernest, in the spirit of feminist peacemaking, the best way for the women to participate is to invite them into this circle where we're all equals. And as Ula pointed out, we all see ourselves as ambassadors, organizers, and promoters of the movement. And if they are African women, I would say definitely invite them to our next working group meeting, which will be August 18th, so that they can learn more and we can learn from them.
That's terrific. Thank you. Pippa and then Ula. And then the next report is about NATO poisoning, the environmental impacts of NATO. Let me read it exactly. It is NATO climate killer is next. But let's hear from Pippa and Ula.
Two quick points. The first is it would be very good if Twitter, Instagram, and all our details were included in the signature of emails that go out so that we can all be reminded what they are and everybody has them and can go to them and use them and share them and whatever. That's my first point. My second point is, yes, backing up what Teresa said, we're not a hierarchical organization. There's no special hats. We are in this together. We're a flat organization, and we respect each other completely equally.
Excellent. Thank you. Ula?
Thank you, Pippa. That was exactly what it is. We all have responsibility. We all share this responsibility. We have no leaders or no secretaries or whatever. We are everything. But about Twitter and other accounts, according to my knowledge, we don't have any common global Women for Peace, United Against NATO accounts. So that would maybe be an issue for the next meeting to see who can establish those accounts. I am not on non-accounts. I'm only working with my email. But if there are people who are ready to put this into the agenda and start going. But maybe we should discuss it on the next meeting.
Okay. That's the second thing for the next meeting. I know, Anne, that you said you have to go and you want us to do to cover DC next year before you go, or at least start. And this will be, again, an agenda item that is continued on our next meeting because we've got a year to plan. But Anne, what did you want to say?
Okay, well, and Medea is on the call too. First, we are really looking forward to Global Women being a part of being in Washington next July 9th through 11th. We don't know what the location is going to be for the actual NATO summit. It could be at any place in the DC area that has a large facility, or it could be outside of Washington, DC, as it's been done in other capitals where they don't actually have it in the capital itself. So we don't know that yet. We will be organizing from on the US side of it with a lot of organizations. Code Pink Women for Peace that Medea is a co-founder of, Veterans for Peace, World Beyond War, WILF, United National Anti-War Coalition, Mass Peace Action, a lot of organizations. We will, of course, be wanting the input from No to NATO, the international organization, and Global Women for Peace United Against NATO. We really haven't had any major organizational meeting yet, but those will be coming up in the near future. Medea, would you like to add to this, please?
Yeah, just that another of the groups that are involved and already had one meeting is the Peace in Ukraine Coalition. And there's a meeting, I think, this week with some of the other groups. And the Answer Coalition is another organization, and trying to get groups that are not, that haven't been involved directly in anti-war activities, like some of the racial justice groups and the environmental groups. But I think there'll be a lot of excitement about it.
Thanks,
Black
Medea.
Alliance for Peace, and other organizations. Yes, environmental organizations.
Great.
Thank you.
Ula? You're muted, Ula.
Sorry. And you said in Brussels that White House has a lot of space.
Right. We
Yeah.
definitely, we would be doing at least a rally in front of the White House for sure, and probably a march. Those are things that we've done in the past when the No to NATO NATO conference has been here in Washington. So a conference, a march, a webinar conference, and the rally in front of the White House are the minimum, I think, that we would be doing over that 3-day period.
Okay. I was referring to your overnighting in the White House. You said they have a lot of rooms, but that was a joke, I know, Anne. But still, that comes to a problem which Emily Molinari from IPB took up, that the website we have now was actually thought to be only till Vilnius. Because we were in a real hurry and we had no money and all these things. So we got the help from IPB. So if we now want to go ahead with our projects, we should discuss the website at the next meeting, because it ends in June. And if we want to go on, we have to renew it. It's a small sum of money, around 200 euros. But Emily also would like somebody to share the responsibility, because she is not employed by us, but by IPB. So that is also an issue for the next meeting, because we need the website now when we are growing. So thank you.
Okay. Teresa and then Christine.
On the issue of DC and the 75th NATO summit, it brings back memories of the bank activity that took place in DC in April of 2000, over 20 years ago, and the importance of all of the movements converging. And I would say over this next year, to be sure to connect with labor, because labor is bubbling up all over the world. And to make that connection is important as we celebrate the historic tentative agreement of the Teamsters with 350,000 members against UPS, and they were ready to strike, and UPS caved in. So in terms of us getting the working class mobilized from around the world into DC next July, that is work that we need to start now. Over.
Absolutely.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you.
Christine? Christine, your hand's up. Do you have comments or a question?
Sorry, I didn't had problems with my mouse. I think for the website, you should also have in mind that the No to NATO network has a website, and on this website we will mobilize for the activities in Washington, as we did it for all the other summits in the last years. And we should really discuss what is the specific topic of the website of the Women United Against NATO. And because it's not useful in my eyes to have things only duplicated on one side and on the other side. Therefore, we should see where is the possibility for the women united against NATO. Is there a specific approach to the things, and where is a as I say, the normal approach of the international network. This is not only for women, which is also for men, and all these things with a long history at all. And of course, we should link together the web pages, and I think it could be useful to have two web pages, but we should see what is the content and the role from each web page.
Yes, that is an option we should discuss next meeting when we nail down what we want to do when it comes to the website or Twitter or Instagram and all of those things. Anne, did you get what we wanted to covered?
Yes, I believe so. Thank you.
Very good. So back to reports. So NATO climate killer, who's that?
It's me, Lisa.
Okay.
Yeah, it was my proposal on that in Brussels on our Sunday morning meeting, and after that I got from Ulla email with names and email addresses, persons who were somehow included in this, and I have sent now two emails to them and haven't got any response. At least Marinella is here today now, who has got these emails. So I think that if I also asked that if it could be good that someone else could take a responsibility for this group, but so far there is no response. So I don't know, are we going to have this working group at all? Maybe Marinella can comment.
Yes, thank you. Very quickly, yes, for me, it was also my idea, the group of the Global South. So yes, I am. We can talk together later and see how to go on. Yes, thank you.
Okay, so the Global South, also Marinella, is an update we want to hear, but we ought to make sure that there are people committed to pursuing the NATO as climate killer work group. So get in touch with Lisa if you're interested in that, so that she has the information she needs to move forward.
Yeah, just of course I'm very interested, but if there is no response from anyone else, so it's difficult. But
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Pippa, Ulla, Patricia. Unmute yourself, Pippa.
Thank you. Yes, I would be willing to take part in the climate group. I'm not in a good position to lead on anything right now, but I would certainly like to be part of that group.
Great. Ulla and Patricia?
Yeah, I'm sure you have to contact them again, Lisa, because, you know, after Brussels, very many went on vacation and they have like 400 emails when they come back. So I think it's good that we don't stress it now. We have the autumn time, and if you can agree on 3-4 points to put onto the common email list and say who wants to join, it might be the start.
Yeah, I will do it. I'm not that pessimistic.
Thank you. Patricia?
Really sorry for all the women that send me message about the working group. I don't respond, but it's just because I'm really busy to prepare this a lot report about our meeting. And my work was, I want to underline that me, Cindy, no, Nancy Price, and Tamara Lawrence, we are always in duty about the militarism and climate change, even in the WILF International Working Group. So we are ready to work on this. And I think even Tamara Lawrence, and I work a lot in this period to continue the activity about Sardinia, to tell to the groups of militants in Sardinia to recontact Claire Daly and Emirel to work about the disaster of Sardinia. So I'm obviously interested, but now too much things together. I want to finish the report and after I start with the working group. Sorry, Lisa, sorry all, okay?
Thank you. Nancy?
Lisa, this is Nancy here. I'm very interested in this group. I'll reach out to Tamara Lorenz and see if we can't collaborate. And also I'll reach out again to Patricia. And I do think that we must reach out to the climate groups, not just the environmental groups, but the climate groups for next July in NATO and DC. Thank you.
Sounds good, thanks. Khadijah's put a message in the chat, which I can only understand about a few words of, but if there's anything that we need to do, if someone can check out that message and alert us if we're need to pause for another translation or whatnot, knowing it's way, way less than ideal. If there's someone who can give an update on the Global South, relationships with the Global South and non-aligned movements, that's what's next. Anyone can do that? Anyone? Relationships with the Global South and non-aligned movements. Patricia?
Sorry, I want to translate the message of Khadija. Khadija write that there is a link between Israel and Morocco because Israel support the position of Morocco against South Sahara, and recently Morocco buy the F-35 by US. They suppose that they are preparing one war between Morocco and Algeria, because Morocco and Israel do some secret agree. So they are really increases because they suppose that they are preparing a conflict.
Oh, wow. Teresa?
Yes, on the Global South, in what you mentioned, I think BRICS and the New Development Bank are the vehicles that are being looked at in the Global South and also inside of the Africa Working Group, since we have our sister from South Africa who is directly connected to BRICS and is a former member of the South African Parliament. So I think at our next meeting on August 18th, we can look into BRICS and the New Development Bank as alternatives to NATO and the World Bank as a way of, I think, speaking to the item you mentioned.
Thanks so much, Teresa. Any other comments about relationships with non-aligned movements or the Global South? Okay. And last is on these working groups, militarization of schools, which I think was also connected to media. Does anyone have a update or comment on that?
Yes. So I wrote in the mailing list to explain, to propose how to begin our work. Really, we are 4 persons at the moment and 2 Italian persons. So in Italy, the work of the observatory is going on. So we have documents and we are working inside the school and in universities, but I think it's if this group can work together, I think we need that in other countries we start to do the same. So we need to know if there are women or persons that inside the school or university, or that know very well this system, can start to do the same in their country. So just to
to start to analyze the situation and to collaborate and together. We in Italy, we can help starting from our work. In this moment, only Vera in Hungary and Dragana, I think, are disposal. They said yes, we are interested in work in this way. I wrote to all the group this morning just to ask if anyone or other women want to work together with us. So we have to decide in the group. When the group, I think we need a little time just to, for us, for example, August is the month of holidays. So I think that we can start in September to work if you want. But I think that 3 countries are not a few number to have a map of the situation in the schools, of the presence of military and projects, military. Sorry for my English. So all the acts that the military, NATO, but not only NATO, for us, for example, even Italian military are present in the schools and in the research, almost in the universities.
Understood.
So if other people in other countries are want or are interested in working in this matter, we in the Italian Observatory, we are ready to collaborate, to decide together how to start. I put in the mail our statement that could be the beginning to start our work.
Thank you, Christina.
It's not compulsory.
Vera and Dragona, who haven't spoken yet, then Patricia and Teresa. Vera?
Yes, thank you. I didn't get to that point that I came to a contact with Christina, though I know we are in the same group. So this is up forward that we have to meet in a Zoom or a Skype, those who are participating in the group. The only thing I could do after Brussels, that in all my connections of Hungarian networks, pointed out this very important question. I told them about the Italian example, that in Italy there are already groups that are formulated for the demilitarization of the schools, and everybody was very interested with whom I shared this information. And also I'm trying to point out here in Hungary, because it just goes by the ears of the people that the government wants to militarize the schools, but if I tell them, they immediately get the point. Oh, yes, that's true. And we also took out from the internet how many military camps were organized for school children this year. So imagine that in Hungary, between 50 or 70, I right now don't know the exact number, but more than 50 such type of camps were organized for children. children. And of course, they try to attract them with military games, and but we are very much against such procedure. And in the schools, from the kindergarten till the university, they try to militarize. And the same thing what Christina said, that in the education and in the research, they want to contact the research work of the universities with the military research. So this is very dangerous, and we have to talk about it a lot. This is the point till where I could get up till now, but we are going to do it with Christina and Dragana and all the others who are in the group together in the next few weeks.
Thanks so much, Vera. Dragana, and then Patricia, Teresa, and Cora.
George, it's 3
Yes.
A's. Dragana. But that's okay. I just wanted to say something very quickly. I did share this afternoon some information on further militarization of science and technology in Australia, that Questacon in Canberra, which is the most important science museum in the country, is preparing programs for indoctrination of children from their earliest age. So you can take a look and draw your own conclusions. I have lots of information on the grants offered by military industry to the universities. And that's a whole area, because universities becoming big businesses and underfunded by governments actually do need to go into that direction. So that's a very complicated field, which doesn't mean we shouldn't expose that and talk more about it. So even though there is only 4 women, I think that's pretty good to start a working group, and we should probably meet and instead of having this discussion with everyone, report directly to the next meeting, which doesn't seem that will be possible for August because everyone will be on holidays. And we should meet outside of this big meeting. I thought that we already exchanged our emails. So let's start working. Christina, you are really ahead of the rest of us. We have more just information. You are much more in depth in that area. So let's get started. That's all I can say. And then
Sounds
we'll
good.
see who else will join, make a little presentation of the groups and see who wants to join.
All right.
Yep.
Cora, then Patricia and Teresa. Cora, oh, and Marguerite, trying to recognize folks who haven't spoken yet. So Cora, Marguerite, Patricia, Teresa. Cora, go ahead.
George, yeah, just to include in our discussion, to note that there are platforms that our group could use in the future. For one, the World Social Forum is happening in Kathmandu, Nepal on February 14 to 19. That's one area that we could use to organize workshop or side events. This is open. It's going to be hybrid, but it's also good if these women, NATO could be part of that the World Social Forum 2024. The other one, which is coming up quite closely in September, is the ASEAN People's Forum, which is happening in Jakarta. And I don't know, but I will be there. Maybe some of us will be there, and some of the women who have signed up into the statement that we have. So that's one area. And personally, I have not enlisted into any of the working groups I am just coming back to look at my email after some travels, so I will do that and try to join the working groups, particularly the one that relates to the Global South relationship, with the non-aligned movement. So I'd be interested in that, and also the one that speaks of about climate. The impact of the militarization into the environment. I say that because here in Asia and the Pacific, we basically experience that problem as the increasing big military exercises are happening in the Pacific areas and also in our countries. Like I'm from the Philippines, and therefore these new agreements about defense and security really have a very strong impact into our environment.
Thank you, Cora. Margaret?
Yeah, thank you. You can hear me?
Yeah.
I would like to remind us of our founding because of this NATO summit in Vilnius. So we started with no to NATO. And I think this is essential to continue because NATO is the big problem in the world. And that's why I suggest to focusing on ceasefire and negotiations in the Ukraine conflict. The Ukraine conflict, I think everybody agrees, is made by NATO. There is in internet this World Beyond War organization. They have a map about all partners in the world, so you can look at the map who is cooperating in this way. And they have also a campaign against a US base. So I think we should try to connect them and to continue with World Beyond Beyond War, this our work. And nevertheless, my main thing is this call for peace at UNO, because I think the only organization I know to stop NATO is UNO. There are a lot of nations. Sorry. There are a lot of nations in the UNO which do not agree with NATO. They do not agree with these nuclear weapons. And so we should look to find cooperations in these nations. Thank you.
Thank you. Patricia and then Teresa.
Okay, I will suggest that for the working group, if any group prepare a definition about the matter, to open to other people, not just this group, but other women, to bring more women in the global Women for Peace against NATO. This is one, because when we speak together in Brussels, I think that this was the idea, to enlarge the people, no? This is one. The second is that I want to just to remember that the 24th July, Italy organized a meeting with 20 countries from Mediterranean and Africa about immigration, and for a new memorandum with Tunisia. And there is more programmed militarization and cooperation between secret service against immigration and for development. And the third point is that in this day in Italy there is a call. I send you a material of 6,500 young of just secondary school to enter in the army as a large offer of job. This is another example, no, of just this. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa and then Ernest.
Well, very briefly, the United States has had military recruiters in the schools for many years. And even though there's no draft, there is an economic draft where the students are being invited into the military. this is a fascist activity, and hearing about what's happening in Europe in the NATO countries is a very dangerous development when they go after our children to bring them into a military mindset. And so we need to be very conscious of this development. In my historical memory, I could still see all of those young people in that fascist period going into the military. So we have to be very conscious of this development. We've been saying books, not bombs, for years in the United States, particularly around the Gulf War of 2003. When it started, there was a movement, books, not bombs, because the recruiters were so all over the students to recruit them into the military, and we must stop it. So sign me up for the group in the United States, Teresa.
Thanks. Ernest and then Ula, and then we have to go to our next item. Ernest?
Just to add a little bit to what Margaret said. I had that question earlier on, but for some reasons I just dropped it. But since Margaret came with it, I also want to just give a touch to also ask. I have been doing a few research that I realized there are hundreds of organizations fighting against NATO, and in doing that, I am thinking probably we could develop some other strategies of collaborating with these organizations to build a much stronger force. And if that is possible, and we can do that, how can we do it? Is there someone from the organization who can take charge of that, or would you need assistance from some of us to do some deep research to get in contact with these organizations to pursue this goal? Thank you.
Thanks, Ernest. That might be something that we discuss further next meeting, or you might want to communicate with Christina on that. Ula?
Yes, I suggest, Ernest, that you talk with Christine because she's running the NATO network. So that is a way. We can't do 1 million things, you know. We have to concentrate on some things, and that is what we have to somehow settle on. But one thing I just would like to comment is that in Finland, it's very likely that we will have female obligatory military service in the next few years. So the militarization is really, really going fast. Thank you.
All right. We have discussed next July in DC a bit. We'll talk about it again next time we gather. But I'm going to share the screen because even though I added this last item to the agenda, I can't say that I fully comprehend all of what it is and who can fill us in on it. And here it is, Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe Summit 2024, signature campaign for OSCE. And it mentioned Joe Gerson's speech that was in Brussels, and that Women from Finland has done 2 such campaigns, and Baltic countries plus broader version. Ula, I'm imagining you know about this. If not you, who? So that we can cover this and get done on time.
Okay, I try to be very, very short. The president of Finland, before the NATO campaign started, took the initiative of having a new OSCE conference, not 2024, but 2025, on the occasion of the Helsinki Act. And when it's cooperation in Europe, it's not only European countries. The US is there. If you go into the OSCE homepage, it's much, much, much broader than Europe. It also contains, for instance, the US. That means that the Helsinki Act was a security for the whole of Europe, not for Western Europe. And this is what we would need again. With the NATO membership, Finland and the president of Finland has forgotten all about his fantastic initiative 3 years ago. And at that point, even if we don't like our president, I think Leah and Lisa agrees, we supported him. We thought it was a great idea to have a new OSCE summit in 2025 on the 50 years occasion anniversary. And Joseph Gerson took it up in his speech, also because the US is part of the OSCE structure. And we had 2 signature campaigns, one covering the Baltic area and one covering Europe largely. And also the US we had organizations from the US signing that this is a good idea to shape a new security architecture for Europe. And now this has been forgotten, but the anniversary is still there. Excuse me, it's not 2024. It was my tired period after Brussels. It's 2025. And we could maybe, and I will take the responsibility to see how we could update the OSCE signature campaign we had, so that it is more going from also from a women's perspective. And could we there maybe try to get some signatures to ask for having such an anniversary summit to be held, to get the new structure for Europe, which wouldn't need NATO, of course. So I will do it for the next meeting more properly. Thank you.
Thanks so much. I've got Ray and then Teresa.
Okay. Thank you very much. And thank you everybody for the contributions today. I just want to support Ulla completely and to emphasize the point that OSCE was on solutions to conflict which were non-military. And that is the most important point. And it is looking to common security. You know, that phrase that nobody is safe until the other people are safe. So it's something we should support very strongly. Thank you, Ulla, for reminding us all. And I think we should be reminding our government in the UK about the same thing. Thank you.
Great. Teresa.
I think, George, as you know, we do our strategic planning in 3-year and 5-year plans in the work we do inside of WILF in particular. And I think this is a good time for us to put on the agenda, since we know we have stuff coming up in 2024, 2025, that we need to look at minimum a 3-year strategic plan as a part of this movement, so that we're going after NATO year after year in a very organized fashion. So I'm proposing that we add the idea of at least a 3-year strategic plan or campaign, bringing in all of these activities that are going to be taking place over the next future. And George, you know how we have done that. So maybe we could come with a kind of draft chart to give people an idea of what I'm talking about for the next meeting.
Absolutely, a template that we can work on together for the next meeting. Sounds good. Anyone have something pressing they need to say before we set up our next meeting? All right, you're my kind of people. So when shall we meet next? I've heard a number of y'all in Europe talk about August not being a meeting for a month for meeting. Is that the case? No meeting in August? You want to look at September? What are y'all thinking?
We could, of course, do a lot of homework in between and have then maybe a 2-hour meeting in beginning of September. How about that?
Especially if we're going to be working on a strategy chart. So I'm looking at my calendar. I hope other people are too. Looking at September. It's Thursday. We don't necessarily have to meet on a Thursday, but that's when we have been meeting. And I can't imagine we do later than this time, since it's afternoon for y'all and evening, I think, for Ernest. So let's see.
September 7 is a Thursday.
Okay.
And maybe we could then have also the working groups. I will once again send out in the working group, added with those who today said that they would like to join some group, so that you can come out with some small statement on the homepage, on the women's common list, and so we can prepare things for that meeting.
Okay. So September 7th, is that okay with everyone? Okay, September.
Probably I won't be able to take part. I will be in transit flying to Frankfurt.
Okay. All right, well, thanks. Vera, what do you have?
It's not good for me, the 7th. Fortunately.
How about the last Thursday in August, 31st?
August 31st, will everyone be back from vacation or able to get online for this meeting for 2 hours on August 31st?
I think so.
Okay.
It's all right with me. Yes, it's okay for me.
Very good. So then we'll next meet August 31st. I'll send out this recording and the chat probably in the morning to everyone who registered. And thank you so much for your time and your tireless work for peace and justice in the world. Yay, us.
And
Take
thank
care,
you, George.
everybody. Sure.
Thank you, George, for moderating. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, George.
Stay strong,
Bye.
stay strong,
Stay
stay
strong.
strong.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.